Hi, I'm Kitty Felde. Last week we discussed Troublemaker by John Cho. This week we continue the conversation with our writer. John, you're probably best known for the Star Trek and Harold and Kumar films. What is the connection between acting and writing?
I found that there were a lot of connections, as I thought about things like what makes a character, what are they motivated by, what are they trying to fix for themselves? These are questions that I would ask myself after reading a script. I found myself interrogating my own self about my own characters in my own book. What would make them happy? Who are their friends? Even little things. What do they wear? What do they like to do when they have spare time? And then I thought about scenes. I thought about the book in terms of scenes a lot. Is that a good scene? What happens? Who comes in this scene and disturbs things and makes it hard for my hero? And how can they get out of it? What makes them look good and clever? And so I guess I found myself thinking about it in large part as a script. I just sort of took the scaffolding of my thinking about a script and applied it to a book.
So screenplays are largely dialogue. Middle grade novels are largely prose. Was it difficult to make that switch?
I actually find the reverse hard. And for instance, my wife is really is an actor as well, and she thinks in dialogue, but I have always thought in prose. And so when I see good dialogue, it's always so impressive in its economy, that everything can be understood through people talking. And often people are hiding things when they're talking. I always found that difficult and find that prose is easier, that you can hear people's thoughts.
Were you following the 3-act structure of screenplays when you were writing the novel?
I think I might have inadvertently, partly because very early on, before I even talked to my editor about the idea, I wanted to do a one-night story. And I realized looking back, or pretty soon after I pitched it, that I was aping some movies that I liked that take place in one day or one night. And I always found those movies really exciting because it was compressed and you knew it seemed really kind of more stressful because it was all happening in a compressed amount of time. So, yeah, I guess I sort of was thinking about movies right from the beginning because I was copying this one night idea. Oh, I guess, Ulysses is one day and it's a giant novel. So it's not like movies invented it, but that's what I was thinking about.
Does it take more guts to declare yourself a writer or to say, I'm going to be an actor?
Yeah, 100%. You felt so naked. Movies and television are collaborative. You work with lots of other people. The blame or the glory is always shared, and a book is. I did have a co-author, so I had some cover, but you feel a lot more naked, and I've always revered the title author the most, and so it felt undeserving, to declare myself an author. I felt undeserving of that title, so yeah, it was kind of nerve-wracking to agree to do it.
How was it working with a collaborator?
The biggest thing for me when I was interviewing co-writers was I knew that I wanted to perfume the book with my own personal family memories. I thought, okay, I wasn't that age, but I was close enough in 1992 to remember things, and I knew that I wanted to put my own family memories and my own friends and school. I placed it in Glendale, where I went to junior high and high school. So it would involve excavating a lot of personal memories. And because I didn't know anyone directly whose store was burned or anything like that, I figured that was going to be inauthentic, based on research, and the authentic part was going to be things I'd experienced. And so the biggest thing I wanted from my collaborator was someone who I felt comfortable opening up to. I had kind of a basic structure with the plot, so I knew that the first thing that we were going to do was talk a lot. And I wanted someone who I felt comfortable being myself with. And Sarah was very easily that person. And so that's where we started, was just, she's much younger than me. And so I was just telling her, just barfing, really, vomiting all these memories. And she was like, oh, that could be useful. That could be useful,
So you come from immigrant parents. Which were they most comfortable with, you as an actor or you as a writer?
When I first told my parents that I wanted to be an actor, that I wanted to try that out, because I sort of fell into it in college, my dad's reaction was, oh, well, maybe you can someday write a book about Korean American history. And I think the reason he went right there was, he was a preacher and he was always thinking about community service, and that's how he saw life. And so when I do a movie that he thinks is sort of uplifting to Korean Americans or Asian Americans, that's what pleases him the most. And I think the book was in that category. So it isn't the form itself, but what he feels uplifts us or doesn't.
In the author photo that we used for this episode, you're holding up the book The Woman Warrior by Maxine Hong Kingston. Does that book have a particular meaning for you?
That was the book that got me into acting. I happened to have read that book in school and was very interested by it, studied it, and then they put on a production of it, and I ended up being cast in it in a very small part. And it was so interesting. At that point, I was just acting for giggles, and I met a lot of Asian American actors, and I didn't realize that there was such a thing as being an Asian American actor. I sound so stupid. And so I met these people, and then I also, having studied the book, it was so fascinating to then put it up on its feet on the stage, and I found that process really, really invigorating and interesting. And so I don't know if I would have been an actor if it wasn't for that intersection with that particular book.
Got another book in you that you're working on?
Not currently, but I think I might, yeah. We'll see. Boy, it's excruciating. I realize I didn't know how good I had it with acting. Showing up and having someone else write it and point the camera at all.
Thanks, John. We have interviews with dozens of other writers at our website, bookclubforkids.org, on our Writers on Writing page. I'm Kitty Felde. Thanks so much for listening.